Time to put away your Instagrams, focus, lock in. Let me start by saying there's a startup competition at the end. So we're going to have 2 more panels and then a keynote. And then we're going to announce the startup winners. So tell all your friends. History is made today. So how was the break? Everything still good at home? The kids taken care of? The babysitter didn't walk away, so we're still good? That's awesome. Now, the next panel is pretty interesting. I didn't expect it, though. Blockchain and fashion. And it's about time, obviously we're in Paris, it's about time we start talking about the badly dressed men in crypto. So let's see if the next panel can, let's see what their views are on it. This panel will be led by Nova. Nova girl, you with us? Next we have Romain Carrere from Aura Blockchain. Then we have Blake from Outlier Ventures. And Mireille Paquet from NFT NOW. Rock it.
Hi.
Enjoy, guys.
Thank you.
Hello, hello. Welcome to our panel. We're just going to start with a quick 30-second rapid-fire intro, and then we'll jump into the questions. You guys ready?
Yep.
Hi, I'm your moderator. I'm Nova Lorraine. I'm the founder of the House of Nova, which is the future of couture, and we bridge fashion with technology, emergent tech specifically, as well as well-being. I'm also a fashion designer and futurist and the author of The Jockey on the Horse, A Creative's Guide to AI.
And I'm Roman. I'm the CEO of Aura Blockchain Consortium. We create digital identities for every luxury product. We put it on the blockchain, and this allows us to have all the traceability information and have the authentication, the possibility to authenticate products and to give Web3 utilities attached to those products.
I'm Blake Lezenski. I'm the Partner Program Director at Outlier Ventures. We are the biggest Web3 investor, and we also ventured into spatial computing and immersive commerce with the programs we run for Farfetch, for Walmart, and ever since I specialize in brand and enterprise adoption of those technologies, AI, Web3, spatial computing, immersive commerce. Great pleasure to be here.
What a great intro. And I'm Mireille Paquet. I'm a Web3 advisor at the intersection of gaming and fashion. I also have the privilege of teaching in fashion schools at SMod Business School, where we are also teaching students to onboard the complexity of the hybrid nature of gaming and fashion and Web3.
All right, awesome. Well, why don't we just kick it off by the state of the industry and how blockchain is playing a role in that. Do you want to jump in?
Let's go. OK. In the fashion industry, there is a regulation coming up in 2026, which will impose brands and luxury brands to have certain types of information on every product. The way we see things is that there will be 2 types of digital product passport, because this is the regulation is imposing that we put that as a digital passport. A digital passport, so that people can understand, it's you take your phone, you connect to your product, and you have certain information. What we want to do is to have the regulatory information, but also to add a brand storytelling, to have something more so that there is something engaging with the customer. And so you have the brand storytelling, you have all the traceability information, you can claim the ownership, and this is also where blockchain is essential, because when you claim the ownership, you can see that this product has been claimed on the blockchain, and if you want to transfer that ownership, you can do so, and the blockchain, you can see that. Another aspect of the blockchain is the Web3 utilities that you can add in order to elevate the customer experience. And those, for example, they can be insurances, loyalty, and repair. What is important is that you have all that type of information, and we are creating a standard. But on top of that, all the digital passport look different, because all the brandings, storytelling are different, and the utilities can be different also on the digital product passport.
So I love this, because you're not just looking at this solution, which is primarily pushed through the sustainability initiatives that have been put out there, but you're looking at it from a storytelling standpoint as a way to build community and loyalty from customers for brands. But then also, this plays a big role in the circular fashion economy as well, right? So not just tracking and tracing as it relates to the supply chain aspect in terms of more sustainable materials, but then also as it relates to thrifting and renting or leasing product and having information about, well, where was this made and what are the care instructions and is this something that I can recycle? And so I think that's pretty awesome that you're checking all those boxes with this one solution.
Yeah, exactly. So sustainability is a big word, but what we focus on is also circularity. Circularity, so you have the traceability of the product, and then post-purchase, you have the circularity in the life cycle of the product. What happens to the product when you resell it? What happens when you repair it? What happens when the end life of the product? They can be renewed, and this is where we have cases with Miu Miu where we have upcycling. We take the original product and we make it as a new product. So this is all the circularity is really, really important.
I love that because if you break all those components down, you have all of these new opportunities that entrepreneurs and startups can isolate as a niche to get into this new circular economy. Love that.
And this is why we create an ecosystem with many startups so that we can get the best of everyone.
Amazing. Blake, what are your thoughts?
Well, so I want to say that Roman and our consortium is doing something amazing because they're uniting so many diverse actors behind a common goal of taking that next step into the technology future of the industry. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
But in general, I want to double-click on what you mentioned about royalties. Previously, if there was a secondary transaction in the market, let's say I have a beautiful bag and I sell it to you in the second-hand market.
Yep.
And you're thinking, oh, okay, that Blake is a bit of a fishy guy. I need to make sure that this is an authentic bag. Right. Now you can do it with NFC technology, right? But what was a problem for me always is that the brand that created the bag didn't see a cent of transaction revenue from that exchange of value. That was the first aspect of it. The second was the data trail. It would go cold with me. They would not even know that you're there, even though you are clearly in the market for their assets. So that aspect of royalty, I think, is even more important if you continue to drill deeper, because if a brand is incentivized to have their product change hands many times, because every time that happens, they get the royalty, that is an opportunity to reinvent the paradigm of luxury into something more sustainable. And rather than looking at the volume of goods sold, you can actually achieve a similar financial result for the brand by investing in durability of the good.
That's right.
So how many times it can change hands without being damaged? And every time the brand gets rewarded. So the new luxury will be sustainable durability, which in many ways goes back to the roots of the luxury industry, things made out of materials that survive for generations or actually switch hands throughout generations. And I think that's an amazing opportunity. In circularity specifically, that's an additional aspect of kind of virtue signaling. So if I can keep track of all the repairs of a leather jacket, designer jacket that I've had, I can wear it as a badge of honor, as a proof to my tribute to sustainability, and that, again, elevates my status through a luxury good. So I think that's a very important aspect. And of course, as all that metadata gets tracked, essentially around each luxury good, you can create a social graph of people that owned it, have a transparent history, and with the use of zero-knowledge technology, you don't even have to invade the privacy of people that held it, but you can know that this good has been through a long journey, and it's luxurious because it lasts for generations. And I think that's a very important implication of royalties.
Yeah, I love that. There's so many things there that we can unpack.
I love it because this is the main objective of luxury is to make a product that lasts the longest. So this is really good. Yeah.
Absolutely. And when you think about it, the customer wins because if any brand is building with the durability in mind, where they know it's going to go through this life cycle that could potentially be resold and remade, then you by default are being sustainable.
It's moving the focus away from customer lifetime value to product lifetime value, which I think is very true to the ethos of luxury.
Absolutely. And another thing, we're bringing up, of course, the value for brands, but then let's not forget about the value for customers. And we're going to see the C2C market continue to explode, where you don't necessarily need eBay and some other trading platforms. You can go directly to your neighbors and your friends with this authentication and the life cycle of this product to trade whatever you have. So we're going to see new revenue streams as well for consumers. So it's going to be super exciting. Marielle, what are your thoughts?
First, I'd like to say that I really like both of your approaches and what you said. One thing that to me is missing is the fact that you can now incentivize people for having a circular behavior. And I don't know how Aura blockchain is actually tackling that, considering the complexity of the circular economy today and how blockchain is probably going to be a facilitator, I hope. And not complexify the whole. I mean, the supply chain is already very, very complex, from the tracing of the sourcing of the material to the moment it ends in the hands of the consumer. So, what added benefit can you add on the consumer level when you incentivize them, for example, for the replicating circular behaviors that you can keep track of? Is that something that you're envisioning, or is it?
Yes and no, because do you need to incentivize a person when they want to sell a second-hand bag? I don't think so, because you already have created digital identities. You've made this product already more valuable, so the customer benefit is already there. So when they are selling to the second person, he's benefiting from the safe side that you were mentioning, that he knows it's a real bag because he can scan the bag or he can scan the shoe, whatever product it is. So he can verify that this is a real product. And so he's willing to pay a bit more because he will see that there is limited risk in buying from that person. So that's, for me, is the main benefit that they will gain. You don't need to incentivize on luxury products. Maybe on other products you do need, because the benefit is not really there. But on the luxury product, at the moment, we don't see it happening, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and I think that, going back to your point, where it may not necessarily be for luxury products, but let's think about independent designers and brands and getting the consumer to adopt them as a new, item that they're going to be shopping, and the brand continuing to support them. But yeah, doing a reward system, doing points, and the brand being able to track that and the activity of the customer with these points. And then also saying, okay, if you're choosing XYZ brand, or let's say it's a marketplace, for example, then those customers get points, and that equals discounts or things like that, or access to physical experiences. So there are opportunities, of course, to use the blockchain for incentivization, even if it's not coming from the luxury level, from that perspective in terms of resale.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So why don't we talk about use cases? We're kind of touching on it a little bit. We're skimming on the surface. What are some of the use cases that stand out to you, or that you're excited about, or maybe surprised about in this last year?
So we have done really many use cases. So let's talk about some of them. So for example, recently we launched with L'Europiana the traceability of the linen. Here we use the blockchain to show from what region it was coming from, because depending on the region, it makes the products better quality, because the region is like a really important aspect on the linen. We did it also on the cashmere for L'Europiana as well. And then on the traceability, we have a use case with Prada in the jewelry, where you can see that the traceability of the diamond, you can see that it is 100% recycled gold. So here you have the sustainability aspect that is really important, and that if we can use recycled gold, we should do that. Then we have other use cases. Rimowa is a full-scale use case, so this is quite incredible. All the suitcases that were purchased before, after the 1st of January 2023, all of them are chipped, and you can get a certificate of ownership and traced on the blockchain. So this is really quite incredible to have done this in a full scale. Then we have the OTB group. OTB group is Jill Sander, Margiela, Marnie, and so they have announced last week that they are putting all of their products. They have created a digital identity for all of their products. So that's 1.5 million products on the blockchain every year. So this is to show the full scale of what can be done with the blockchain and the full scalability that is possible on the Aura blockchain.
Wow, that's an impressive number. Okay, Jill Sander, your first example around the textiles made me think of your first point around storytelling, where we can use these digital passports to really look at preserving culture as it relates to textiles being used, and also the legacies of these families that are sometimes like hand sewing, hand beading, hand weaving these textiles as well, or using unique methods of dyeing the textiles and really diving into the story of the individuals that are helping put these raw materials together, maybe even going back to the farmers themselves.
Yeah, that's the end goal. That's the end goal. And to have this heritage also, to show that heritage, to show how it was made and where it is made, that this is really crucial for luxury brands.
Absolutely. And then even just looking at the differences between textiles, there's so much education that can be done over and above just the entertainment value of the storytelling.
But it is very tough to get all that data collection.
This is a good point.
Really, their brands had 3 pain points. First, on the data collection to get all the information about the product, where it is coming from, because the supplier, there are so many suppliers, they have to get this information. Then there is the supply chain, because when you put a chip inside a product, it changes it impacts all the supply chain. And the third was the technology part. The technology part, we made it easy for brands to do it, so they can deploy a DPP really easily.
Okay.
But those 2 pain points are quite difficult, and it takes time. This is why brands have to start now in order to be ready in 2026 or 2027.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially the more legacy brands that have a lot more moving parts. And I'm sure we're going to touch some more on some challenges. That we're talking about a lot of great opportunities, but as you mentioned, there are definitely some challenges there as well. Blake, I'd love to hear some use cases that either you're surprised about, excited about.
I think there are 3 kind of buckets that I'm excited about.
Okay.
Number 1 is engagement and loyalty. So brands need to understand, but by rewarding people on blockchain and kind of providing them with a digital asset, first it was done by Dolce & Gabbana, then Louis Vuitton improved on that kind of approach with the VI initiative. And you can see how they still reward that group of people with access to different benefits. Brands have to understand that having that digital asset gives you a direct line to interact with a high-profile customer and actually get them to participate in the ethos of the brand. And I think that's really important. Another one is the way we reward loyalty. Nowadays, people, when they interact with a luxury brand, they want this interaction to go way beyond just a simple transaction. And the paradigm of, we discussed what it means for a product to be luxurious nowadays, physical product. But in the digital space, in my eyes, the new luxury paradigm is all about the community that you get access to by owning the digital asset and identifying yourself as part of that community on a transparent ledger, and what kind of experiences provided by the brand, whether it's co-creation or whether it's a real-life event, what kind of experiences do you have access to? Because nowadays, this is the new face of luxury. Both what group do you belong to and what shareable social experiences you have access to. So I'm really excited about that. The second one, I would say, is essentially digital fashion interoperability. When it comes to digital fashion, it's still a very nascent industry adjacent to traditional fashion industry. But thanks to blockchain technology, well, I believe we're in a point of adoption of NFTs where we no longer kind of speculate on profile pictures. That adoption is getting much more mature to the point where NFTs don't take front stage, but it's about the benefits they can generate in the backend. And what's really important for it, if you have a digital object that is written on an NFT format, that means it has properties like a physical object, and there can only be one of one. And that's really important because that enables a creation of a luxury digital product and tracing its whereabouts across different virtual worlds. So by using blockchain technology, not only we can have those digital items travel through gaming, through different platforms, through Apple Vision Pro, through Instagram filters, but the brand can also pre-approve those routes and figure out where they want their IP to be represented and how they want it to be represented, but also the scarcity of the luxury product gets maintained because you can ensure that there is always one of that product. And finally, really quickly, it's about co-creating with your community. You mentioned those points, right? It's about writing down those interactions, going deeper into insights about your community, and sourcing inspiration from your community. And big shout out to Kiki World. While not traditionally a fashion brand, I think right now the testament is the round that they just gathered with Estee Lauder and A16Z. They've been doing amazing things. Having blockchain in the back end, while in the front end, it's an amazing beauty brand, but they source all of their inspiration from the customers. They source that inspiration and they reward them with points saved on a transparent ledger, and the market is clearly recognizing that both from the consumer side and the investor side and the markets that support that use case. So shout out Jana, shout out Kiki World.
No, those are really great categories and examples. And Kiki World is a testament to the future of a lot of companies and startups that are going to be born through the community, and a great use case for a DAO as well. And then touching on your example around digital fashion, most people don't realize how big the space is. Still day one of 10,000, right? But when you're looking at $343 million this year alone in digital fashion, there is a very active market there, and it's only going to continue to grow. And when you're looking at individuals purchasing anywhere from the 10 percentage points up to 50 percentage points of, depending on if it's Gen Z or Gen Alpha, digital fashion items, makeup, fashion, clothing, that's huge. So again, huge opportunities there. And then lastly, regarding the community with luxury, and I'd love to maybe have you touch on this when we talk about challenges. Is it just Web3 natives, or are we seeing a lot of adoption from Web2 as it relates to that? But we'll hold on to
it might be a great segue to our expert here.
We're going to hold on to that for the next. So think about that. So what are some of the use cases, Mariel, that you're really excited about and interested in?
I have one in particular. It's not a big brand. It's a startup that I had the pleasure to mentor in the far-fetched Dream Assembly Basecamp, which is called Spin Connect. And they have designed an end-to-end system to reward for creators. It's a phygital e-commerce, so it's a phygital commerce for creators to be able to sell their items, so that you can do that from 2D to 3D. And I think it's a good example because they've been in the circular economy for a while. They've been working hard. They've been working with the big department stores in France, with the Printemps, I think, or the Galeries Lafayette. Also setting up immersive experiences with VR and AR. But the idea is that they really want to change. As you said, there's a new face of luxury. There's also a new face of the consumer that consumes luxury. So we also have to take that into account. It's not the same one that we're catering to, not the one that we're used to. And I can imagine big brands are now quite aware of that as well. So yeah, Spin Connect, working on the circular economy for creators to be able to have a phygital commerce to sell their 2D to 3D assets.
Yeah, I love how they're addressing creators as a consumer base and not just consumers, and really empowering that part of the market, I think, is really powerful as well. I love that. And then also touching on part of the future of fashion, which will continue to expand in 3D and immersive technologies. So that's pretty awesome. Let's jump back to challenges, and then I'm going to add something in there. As you're thinking about the challenges, how can AI enable or support some of the challenges that exist currently in blockchain? We've been hearing throughout the conference some things that keep echoing from panel to panel. But what do you think are challenges specifically within the fashion space?
So one of the challenges was to be able to connect to the products. So with the NFC chip, you can easily put that into a product, like a shoe, a bag, a jacket. But on watches, it is more difficult. You cannot put an NFC chip in technically you could, but it impacts the design and the materials inside. So the people do not want that. So there was a technical challenge to have a linker, an enabler that connects you to the watch or to the jewelry. There are two ways to do that, and we use the AI for that. For example, you can take a high-definition picture of the watch. Okay. With AI, it will determine if the watch is authentic, and with the AI, it will also determine if the little differences of the usage of the watch, or if you scratch your watch, is normal, or if it's a fake one. And this is a really good use case on how we can mix AI with blockchain, because obviously there is the digital identity on the blockchain. And so that's really interesting to have this. Another use case of AI is, for example, when you work with wholesales, you cannot connect to the fact that you bought to that store, so the brand doesn't have the information. So what you can do is you can scan the invoice, and the AI will determine if it's a real invoice or not, and it will determine also to get to all the information. So there are several things where we can mix AI with blockchain, and it's really useful to solve those challenges.
I love that, and that just sparked like 5 different ideas in my head, but I'm going to hold back. I'm going to ask Miriam, why don't you start with what are your thoughts in terms of challenges, and how can we use AI to help solve some of those or support blockchain?
Is the question more about the challenge that AI represents today?
No, more so the challenges still within blockchain, and then how can AI support that?
I think, as you said, it's streamlined. It's going to fast track a number of things which are going to be useful. So optimize and I don't know, even identifying patterns are going to be useful, I guess.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
What else can I think of? It's quite, I mean, AI is not new as a technology, but I'm a little bit biased about the fact that there's still no real regulation around it, and the Digital Act being what it is right now, not yet what it should be. I see that there is a big issue about actually implementing it. And I saw quite a few examples at another tech event that took place recently of how they're using, for example, AI to do shootings for their products, as opposed to going and collecting the different visual elements. Yeah. So it is a way of fast-tracking a number of things, and I think it's going to be a huge opportunity. But I also think it needs to have a real frame to it and a real regulation.
Yeah, as we're talking about regulation, all conference with blockchain, we have another bucket to add regulation.
No, but other than that, I know that for inventory management and things like that, it's already used and very useful.
Now, we will definitely need regulation regarding AI when you talk about IP. But when you use AI in a closed environment, that's okay, because you learn with your own IP. Yeah,
I agree. Blake, what are your thoughts in terms of challenges and AI?
So we touched on something that I used to call like the Bermuda Triangle of fashion. So one challenge Romain mentioned is already solved, right? Is how do you reliably connect the digital and the physical? Mm-hmm. And I'm a huge fan of like NFC technology, but I always thought, how can we apply it in retrofit? Mm. And perhaps a trained AI model for AI verification of very old assets that didn't have the luck to have an implemented NFC chip could really solve that problem. Another leg of that Bermuda Triangle, we just saw it solved over the last year, which I think shows the amazing pace of AI, which is the scalability of digital design. Absolutely. Back in the day, when you would ask a digital fashion house, how long would it take you to deliver what you promise, they would say, 3 weeks and about 80 people. And now, of course, there is still a human touch, but most of that heavy lifting is being done by AI. And finally, the third problem, utility connected to the interoperability of a phygital product. So I envision a world that when I buy a physical product, I also get a digital representation of that product. But if it's just a 3D file, it's like I sent you a gift, and it's a beautiful Christian Dior dress, but it also comes with a contract. You can only wear it in your bathroom, essentially making it a bit useless. So I believe there is a huge opportunity in having that virtual asset travel with you as a consumer throughout all digital spaces, the same way you can put a designer dress in your bag and fly to a different country. And that process and adjusting the way the asset looks, that takes AI. And AI is actually the only hope to have that process solved. And big shout out to some teams working in that space, you know, DressX AI, the recent project with Sandbox, all amazing friends, all amazing use cases. So I think overall, AI is becoming a new tool of creativity. The craft is still there, but it's the tools that are evolving. And even the way people interact with AI is a new source of data that can enrich the conversation between a brand and a consumer. And yeah, and circling back to your last question, and perhaps Mireille can also share on that because I know she is an expert, you asked me about adoption by Web 2. I think the key to digital fashion is gaming. If you ask anybody that has been a gamer or is in the gaming industry, is digital fashion a big industry? They would say, yeah, it's a multi-million-dollar industry. Yep. Because the younger generation nowadays tends to pay even more attention to how they look online than how they look when they go out to grocery store to get their shopping.
Absolutely. So I know we're running out of time, 15 seconds. Marielle and then Roman, what are you excited about? And Blake, thank you for sharing some of your future visions for fashion. What are you excited about for fashion? Go, rapid fire.
Oh, very quickly. From an educational perspective, I'm very excited about students becoming more hybrid, more gaming and fashion knowledgeable and trained to different softwares. I think this is going to be my take on what I'm excited about. Sorry.
Yeah.
And from my side is what we have created is only just the beginning. We have more than 40 million products on the blockchain, and we're just getting started on the scalability. What we have done in the fashion industry, we're doing it in the jewelry and the watches, and we will do it in all the different verticals in the luxuries segments. So that's what excites me.
Amazing, amazing. And then for me, just more personalization and access across the board and a whole lot better user interface.
Perfect.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us for our panel.
Thank you.
All right, beautiful people. Thank you so much, panel. High five. Good job, Nova. Good job, sir. Have a good one.